Black Mirror. It is basically what happens when you take our obsession with tech and push it just far enough to get really creepy. That's the quick way to sum it up. Each episode tells its own story, pulling you into a world that's just a few steps ahead of where we are now, but close enough to feel uncomfortably real. And what makes it disturbing isn't the tech itself, it's the way people act when they have just a bit more power, a bit less privacy, and way more ways to screw things up. No monsters, no ghosts, just humans doing what they already do, but amplified. At its heart, Black Mirror is all about showing how even the coolest tech can go sideways. It doesn't just ask, what if we had this gadget? It goes, okay, what happens when people get their hands on it? You'll see stories that start with some exciting idea, a chip that records memories, an app that finds your soulmate, or a digital afterlife, and then watch it spiral into something way darker. And what really hits is how it's never just about the tech. It's about how our own flaws twist these inventions into something harmful. And the fact that it's an anthology series isn't just a style choice, it's what makes it so versatile. Each episode drops you into a completely new world with different characters and rules, so you never know what to expect. And while there are little callbacks and Easter eggs across episodes, you can watch them in any order. Some stories are sharp and cynical, like Nosedive, where people rate each other like Uber drivers, and some are surprisingly emotional, like San Junipero, which offers a rare moment of beauty and hope. But overall, most episodes end with a punch. That one reveal that flips everything you thought you knew on its head. And what really makes Black Mirror hit hard is how real it feels. These aren't far-off futures, they are pretty much reflections of where we already are, just exaggerated a bit. Whether it's giving up our privacy, chasing likes, or letting algorithms decide our lives, so it's not trying to scare you with robots or aliens. It's showing you what's already happening, just turned up a notch. So by anchoring all this tech talk in human emotions, like loneliness, jealousy, fear, or love, the show doesn't feel like cold sci-fi. It feels personal, and that's why it sticks with you. It's not just predicting the future, it's asking if maybe, in some ways, we are already living it. 1984. Published way back in 1949, this story drops us into a bleak future where a totalitarian regime controls everything. And we mean everything. The story follows Winston Smith, a low-level worker in the party living in the dystopian superstate of Oceania. This world runs on constant surveillance, non-stop propaganda, and the looming presence of Big Brother, a figure who might not even be real, but who still demands complete devotion. From the first page, you feel the same suffocating pressure Winston does, trapped in a place where even the concept of truth has been weaponized. At its core, 1984 is a terrifying dive into what happens when control goes too far. When not just your actions, but your thoughts, your words, your memories, and even reality itself can be twisted by those in power. Orwell introduces terms like newspeak, a language designed to limit how people think, and doublethink, where holding two opposite ideas at once becomes normal. And these aren't just sci-fi ideas, they are scary reflections of how real-life dictators manipulate truth and shape how people see the world. The story focuses on Winston's quiet, almost hopeless rebellion. His job at the Ministry of Truth involves rewriting history to fit the party's narrative, but deep down, he wants something real, a real memory, a real relationship, a real sense of freedom. So he starts taking tiny risks writing in a secret journal, falling in love, dreaming of escape. But Orwell never gives you the Hollywood version of rebellion. In this world, the system is so airtight, so powerful, that fighting back feels like yelling into a void. And Winston knows it. And just when things seem like they might turn around, reality comes crashing in. Winston and Julia are captured, and the story shifts into full-blown psychological horror. They are dragged into the Ministry of Love, where torture isn't just physical, it's about sharing who you are. And Room 101 becomes this terrifying symbol of ultimate fear, where the party shows you that resistance isn't just punished, it's erased. It's not enough for you to obey, you have to believe. By the end, Winston doesn't win, he doesn't go down swinging, he's broken completely. The man who once dared to question the system is turned into someone who genuinely believes whatever he's told. Orwell doesn't give us a hero, he gives us a warning. Even decades later, 1984 still feels relevant, maybe even more now. He predicted tools of control that feel uncomfortably familiar in a world full of surveillance cameras, algorithm-driven feeds, and constant battles over what's real and what's fake, governments watching their citizens, fake news shaping opinions, the slow death of objective truth. Words like Orwellian and Big Brother are everywhere now, because the book left such a huge mark on how we understand power and truth. Orwell may have been reacting to the politics of his time, but the fears he tapped into, they are universal, and they are still with us. Takopi's Original Sin. This is one of those stories that pulls you in with a weirdly cute setup, then hits you with some of the most brutal emotional punches you'll find anywhere. On the surface, it looks like a silly, heartwarming tale about a cheerful alien octopus named Takopi who shows up on Earth to spread happiness. He's bright, bubbly, and comes with magical gadgets that can fix basically anything. But the world he lands in, it's anything but cheerful. He meets a quiet girl named Chizuka who has bruises she won't talk about, and a sadness in her eyes that feels way too heavy for a kid. What Takopi doesn't get, and what we slowly start to see, is that happiness here isn't simple at all. At first glance, the whole thing feels almost like a parody. Takopi's over-the-top, clueless attempts to fix Chizuka's life using alien tools just keep backfiring. And not in a funny way. Every little fix leads to something way worse. The tone keeps flipping from ridiculous to heartbreaking, and as more of Chizuka's world is revealed, we find out it's full of neglect, pain, and abandonment. School, family, even society, every part of her life is failing her. And Takopi, no matter how hard he tries, he has no idea how to deal with that kind of darkness. Eventually, everything just breaks. One huge, unexpected moment flips the entire story on its head, ditching the light-hearted vibe and diving straight into psychological horror. It's not violent in a gore way, but emotionally. It's the kind that sticks with you. The manga or anime quickly shifts from being strange and sad to being deeply disturbing, and it's all done through character choices and consequences, not cheap shocks. Then time loops and memory loss get introduced, but not in a sci-fi cool twist way, more like tools to show how actions keep haunting characters. And what makes Takopi's original sin so powerful is how it tackles innocence and guilt through both main characters. Takopi isn't just an alien in body, he thinks totally different, and can't wrap his head around why people hurt each other the way they do. It's a raw look at real issues like abuse, bullying, and how adults fail to protect kids. Nothing here is exaggerated for drama. It just feels painfully real. It's short, only 416 pages or a 6-episode anime, but it hits way harder than you'd expect. Even if anime isn't your thing, seriously, give this one a shot, it's something else. Fear and Hunger. It's the kind of game that wants to break you. It is a brutal indie RPG that drops you into a filthy, cursed medieval dungeon where you're not some chosen hero. You're just a desperate, breakable person trying to stay alive. There's no tutorial and no safety net. From the second you start, it's clear. You're not here to win, you're here to suffer, and maybe, just maybe, crawl your way a little further into the darkness. Fear and Hunger lets you choose from several troubled characters, each with their own baggage. Whether you are a mercenary, a dark priest, or an outcast, the dungeon doesn't care who you are. And the game is also infamous for its slim system. You and your enemies can lose arms or legs mid-fight. Lose a leg, better start crawling. Lose an arm, there goes your sword. And every injury changes how you play. And every encounter could leave you crippled or dead or worse. The visuals are crude but effective. We talk in raw pixel art soaked in grime and blood. It's not pretty, but it fits. The soundtrack is unnerving, often silent but punctuated with disturbing noises that make you question every shadow. And there are no good paths, only less horrible ones. Every ally you find might betray you, and every door you open might lead to torture or cannibalism. And even your saves are limited and unreliable. Yet buried within all this agony is a strange beauty. The lore is dense and fascinating, dripping with Lovecraftian and Berserk-like influences. The gods in this world are noble and cruel, but their presence gives everything a mythic weight. And the deeper you explore, the more the game begins to feel like a study of pain, choice, and cosmic indifference. And despite, or perhaps because of, its harrowing nature, Fear and Hunger has developed a loyal following among players, drawn to its raw emotional intensity and unfiltered storytelling. It's not for everyone, and it doesn't try to be. But in a medium often driven by convenience and polish, Fear and Hunger dares to be punishing, disturbing, and often unfair by design. And for those who can stomach its horrors, it delivers an unforgettable experience. Made in Abyss. It might look like a cute, whimsical anime at first glance, but don't let that art style fool you. Sure, it starts in a charming little town, built around a massive pit called the Abyss, with kids training to be adventurers, and the sun shining bright. It all feels like a classic fantasy adventure. You've got Riko, a curious and determined girl who dreams of being a great cave raider like her missing mom, and she sets off to explore the depths with that same wide-eyed wonder. But the deeper she goes, the more you realize this isn't a fairy tale. The Abyss itself feels alive. It's not just a setting, it's the real star of the story. It's split into layers, and each one gets weirder, more dangerous, and more horrifying. There's the Curse of the Abyss, which punishes anyone who tries to climb back up. It starts with nausea and bleeding, but keep going and you're looking at hallucinations, madness, or even turning into something not remotely human. And the body horror here isn't subtle. It's brutal and unapologetic. And this world punishes curiosity, and it doesn't care who you are. And Riko, of course, doesn't go alone. She's joined by Reg, a mysterious boy who's part robot, part human. Their friendship keeps the story grounded as things get darker. Along the way, they meet others who've made it deeper into the Abyss, and there's also Nanachi, Koichi, a child turned into something otherworldly through gut-wrenching experiments, yet still full of kindness and pain. These characters don't just survive the abyss, they are shaped, scarred, and sometimes shattered by it. Through their journey, Made in Abyss dives into some heavy themes like obsession, sacrifice, and the loss of innocence, and what it really means to stay human when the world around you is anything but that. The characters may look like kids, but what they endure is far beyond childhood. It's not just danger, it's trauma, transformation, and choices no one should have to make. And the Abyss, it is not evil, it's not good either. It just is. Vast, unknowable, and merciless. Visually, the show is stunning. The animation is top tier, and the music is haunting and beautiful. And the world feels rich and deep, but what really sticks with you is the contrast. The soft, adorable character designs clashing with truly horrific content. It's jarring on purpose. And the emotional whiplash is the heart of Made in Abyss. It shows beauty and terror side by side. And somehow, it makes both feel painfully real. The Road. First released in 2006 and later turned into a film in 2009, The Road tells the story of a father and son trying to survive in a world that's already ended. They wander through a burnout, ash-covered America, looking for anything resembling safety or hope. But this isn't your typical post-apocalyptic tale. There's no big war, no zombies, no epic battles. Just two people walking through silence and ruin, clinging to each other. It's cold, bleak, and brutally quiet. And yet, out of that silence, Cormac McCarthy delivers one of the most moving stories in modern fiction. We never learn the names of the father and son. We never find out what exactly destroyed the world, and honestly, it doesn't even matter. The road is littered with fire-scarred towns, crumbling highways, and the occasional threat of starvation or cannibalism. But through all of it, what really matters is the bond between the man and the boy. The father lives for one purpose: keep his son alive. He keeps saying they're carrying the fire, a vague, powerful idea that stands for decency, hope, and maybe the last bit of humanity left in this broken world. And McCarthy's writing style matches the story's mood perfectly. It's stripped down and bare. No quotation marks, hardly any punctuation, and zero fluff. The sentences feel cold and sharp, like the landscape itself. But that rawness also pulls you in. It's not written like a normal novel, it feels more like a prayer, a final whisper in a dying world. And despite how dark everything is, the book refuses to give up on the idea that goodness can survive. The boy is the heart of that belief. Innocent, kind, and always trying to do the right thing, even when there's nothing left to believe in. And the father teaches him how to survive. Yes, but more importantly, how to care and how to hold on to kindness. And eventually, when the father can't keep going, the boy is left with a question. Is it still possible to trust, to be good, even after all this? And even now, The Road stands out as one of the most emotional and unforgettable post-apocalyptic stories out there. It's about the end of the world, sure, but more than that, it's about what we cling to when everything else is gone. Requiem for a Dream. This isn't just a movie. It is an experience, one that grabs you by the throat and doesn't let go. It digs deep into the many faces of addiction, not just drugs, but the craving for love, validation, escape, and something better than the crushing now. It's way more personal and more intense, with wild editing, surreal visuals, and that haunting Clint Mansell score that just keeps building. The film has rightfully earned its place as one of the most emotionally wrecking rides in modern cinema. You follow four people here: Harry, his mom Sarah, his girlfriend Marion, and his best friend Tyron. Each of them is chasing some version of a dream. Sarah, an older widow, gets hooked on diet pills, trying to fit into a red dress for a game show she hopes to be on. Harry and Marion are in love and fantasizing about building a future together, using heroin to fuel those dreams. And Tyron wants to make money, get out, and make his mom proud. But dreams fade fast when addiction takes hold. Director Darren Aronofsky throws you right into their world, using lightning-fast montages, pills dropping, pupils dilating, veins bulging. At first, it's kind of exciting, but then it gets repetitive, claustrophobic, and almost sickening. And that's the point. You start to feel what the characters feel, stuck and desperate. And the editing becomes a character of its own. Then comes the third act, and things go from sad to straight up horrifying. Sarah's mental state completely breaks down, leading to hallucinations and brutal electroshock therapy. Harry loses his arm, Marion falls into a dark world just to survive, Tyron ends up alone in a jail cell, haunted by memories of his mother. And these aren't just dramatic plot points, they are raw consequences delivered without a single moment of relief or rescue. As the seasons change in the film, everything gets colder, darker, more hopeless. And the ending, it's honestly one of the most disturbing and unforgettable finales ever put on screen. There's no neat message, no sugarcoating. The film doesn't point fingers or preach, it just shows. Addiction here is more than a habit. It's a symptom of deeper things, like isolation, consumerism, the pressure to be more, to feel something, anything. And that dream in the title is not inspiring, a promise dangled in front of people who never had a chance. Silent Hill 2. It is often called one of the greatest psychological horror games ever made, and for good reason. It doesn't just scare you with monsters, it digs deep into personal fear, guilt, and regret. The story follows James Sunderland, who gets a letter from his dead wife asking him to meet her in the eerie, fog-covered town of Silent Hill. And what follows isn't your average horror story. It's a slow, emotional unraveling that hits harder than any jump scare ever could. Right from the start, the town feels wrong. The fog is thick, the streets are empty, and when the creatures show up, they are not just there to be creepy. They mean something. Everything from the twisted nurses to the mannequin-like enemies, and of course the terrifying pyramid head, feels like a reflection of James' messed up emotions. These aren't random monsters, they are symbols. They force you to ask not just, what am I fighting, but why am I fighting this? And that's where Silent Hill 2 shines. Every character, every weird hallway, every puzzle, it's all connected to James's mind. Pyramid Head, for example, isn't just a scary monster, he's James's guilt made real, sucking him through the fog. And the game keeps throwing moments at you that feel symbolic, making you pause and think instead of just run or shoot. It's horror that makes you reflect, and that's quite rare. And the town itself feels alive. Not in a monster jumping out way, but in a deeper, scarier sense. Like it knows what's inside you and is using it against you. The sound design is brilliant, unsettling silence, distant noises, static that makes your skin crawl. The soundtrack is haunting and unforgettable, and as you explore, you meet others who are trapped in their own nightmares, like Angela, Eddie, Laura, and they all represent different sides of grief, pain, or denial. They are not just side characters, they are parts of their emotional puzzle. And the deeper James goes, the more you realize he's not just some poor guy caught in a spooky town. He's running from something inside himself. Without spoiling anything, let's just say James has secrets, big ones. And the game slowly peels back those layers until you are forced to confront them right along with him. And even now, years later, Silent Hill 2 stands tall as one of the most emotionally powerful games ever made. It changed what horror games could be, not just scary, but personal. It's inspired countless other games and stories, and it still holds up today. There are multiple endings depending on how you play, but none of them offer a clean escape. Each one reflects a different kind of emotional truth, like denial, acceptance, grief, or maybe redemption. Whatever ending you get, one thing's for sure, the experience will stick with you long after the credits roll.